So the first thing you're going to do when you reference in your character is make sure you turn on your textures. Now, a couple things could happen when you reference in your character. The first thing is that you want to make sure you go to your file path editor and make sure that these textures here are pathed to the right folder on your local machine. So when you download the rig, you're going to have a folder with all the textures in it. These are unresolved for now, but once you have the rig with the outfit that will be here in the next few days, these should all be green. So you should be able to repath to wherever you put the rig, and the textures will reconnect automatically. Once you reconnect the textures, you're going to go to the renderer, viewport 2.0, and you're going to select this regenerate all UV tile preview textures. The reason for this is because there's UDIMs. UDIMs are very large, and Maya will automatically not load them on purpose. So by regenerating, it then makes sure it generates a preview so you can actually see this handsome boy in real life. Something to note that's actually very important, because I've had a decent amount of people emailing me with issues of either the rig's geometry disappearing or the rig's breaking in general. When you go to save your file, make sure you're saving as a Maya ASCII file. Do not save as a Maya binary. Binary may be saving you a few megabytes of space, but it is not readable to the eye. ASCII is much easier to read, and it, in my experience, preserves data much better. So you will most likely have rig issues if you are importing your rig, opening the rig and working directly on it. You should be referencing your rig, and you should be saving as Maya ASCII, not Maya binary. So just quickly before we jump into the controls and all of that, rendering your character has never been easier. We can just drop in some lights here, hit the Arnold, render, and within a few seconds, everything is showing up very nicely, rendering perfectly. So if you do have slight issues rendering or geo not showing up, make sure you select the geometry and go to the render stats and make sure cast shadows, receive shadows, motion blur, primary visibility, visible and reflections and refractions. Make sure all of that is turned on, because a lot of times you will wrap deform something and primary visibility will be turned off and the character will look like this. So make sure that all of these are checked. So moving on to the fun things, the controls. At the base level, we have our layout control. This is good for moving the character, placing it in the world. The control inside of this has all of your global settings. So you don't want to select geometry, set it to ref. This will make sure that you cannot select the geo. Very handy if you're just trying to select controls. Secondary controls, you can turn these on or off. Bend controls on or off. Pin controls on or off. I'll turn those off. We can turn those on at a later date, but for simplicity, we'll stay here. This is the Huntsman outfit. When you get this rig, there will also be a second for the gangster or suit outfit. But for now, we have the base suit, we have the arrows, we have the arm protector, and we have the bow. The last thing here, which has caused some confusion in the past, is the squeeze. This is specially created by our rigger to make sure that whenever this outfit is on, turn on the squeeze. That will keep penetrations or anything from happening. If you want the character without clothes on, turn squeeze off. Or if you have your own outfit that you want to create to add to this character and you're wrap deforming it, make sure that happens with squeeze turned off, because wrap deforming with squeeze on will create very odd, weird deformations. Yes, he does look very nice with just his bare mesh. So that's the base control. Starting at, let's just start with the cog, the center of gravity. This is good for moving around the character's hips, placing him, starting your pose. A couple very nice details that can very easily be missed are FK spine, IK spine, both, and comfy. You have your offset cog control, and then this save volume. Immediately off the bat, it's not easy to tell what this does, but it's actually very important. So if I take the spine, translate it up here, as you can see, that doesn't look great. If you slide on, save volume, now you can see, this is volume preservation. So as you squash, he stretches out. As you stretch, he thins out. So I would typically set this to like a 0.5 maybe, so that you just get a little bit of volume preservation. Yes, send me in the chat or in Discord, and I will take a look after this rig review. So save volume, very, very nice. So moving downward from the center of gravity, we have the feet. The feet are very nice. You have, first and foremost, translation control, you have rotation control, you have scale, you have stretch. If you turn stretch off, you can move, but the leg will not stretch past its limit. If you turn squash on, that will keep the leg from bending. So this is useful if you have walk cycle and you're trying to eliminate pops. Squash is on, squash is off. Not very mechanically correct, but very nice in certain situations. Save volume as well is going to stretch or squash, thin it out. Length 1 is scaling the upper leg. Length 2 is scaling the lower leg. Twist, side to side. Soft IK on will also help to prevent knee pops from happening, which is also very, very nice. We have our roll attributes. So you have roll here, which is just pivoting from the toes. I believe the weight roll switches it from toes to the end of the toes, which is very nice for getting that nice peeling off of the ground. We have our side roll, which is side to side. Heel pivot, which is very nice. Ball pivot. Toe pivot. Space switching. So right now it's set to main, which means if we move everything but the layout, it'll stay in place. If I set it to cog, it will now follow with the cog. If I set this to hip, it will now follow with the hip controller. So very, very handy settings. I love space switching. It is a huge lifesaver. And then we also have our offset control, which is for gimbal purposes. So here we have toes, individual toe controls, pretty self-explanatory. Here on the side, we have IKFK switching to be able to move his foot around. This is a good time to bring up the tool. So when you download your rig, let me open up my file explorer. There will be a tools folder that comes with the rig, which will have this menu. And all you're going to need to do is drag and drop this into Maya. Boom. Now you're good to go. So if you're wanting to snap IKFK, you're going to, after dragging and dropping that in, hold down right click on the IK/FK switcher, and you're going to hit limb FK/IK. Now you have the ability to snap, which is very nice. You also have the ability to mirror, flip, so rather than mirroring, it would flip it to the other side, reset selection, select character, or I can even reset the character back to default, which is all of it insanely useful. I love this little tool control with the IK/FK snapping. So moving up, we have normal hips, rotating without the rest of the body. We have our IK hips, very nice. Middle spine and upper spine. This also has space switching, which is none. You can set this to main so that it follows along. So that it stays pinned even if you move the cog, very handy in certain situations. We have our clavicle controls. Very nice clavicle controls. Also nice to point out very quickly, we have the global setting on most controls. That's going to be different between this and the arm staying aimed in the right spot and turning global off, which is going to keep them oriented relative to the shoulders. So moving down the arm, we have our FK elbow. He has very nice deformations here, collapsing in, nice collision. Artem, our rigging artist, is fantastic. We have the wrist, all good stuff, fleshy, squishy. My personal favorite hand control, which is the cup control. It kind of moves from the first finger to the pinky with an offset, so you can kind of curve those fingers without having to manually pose them out. Very, very nice. We have our group finger control, moves all of them at once, and then obviously you have your individual finger controls. Very nice deformations on the fingers, very clean. Hey Miguel, thank you for the chat. I will take a look at this question and answer it in just a few minutes. Here we have the neck. Huge fan of the neck control here, especially with the outfit turned on. Let's go ahead and turn this on here. There we go. So this just contacts with the outfit very well, in my opinion, and makes his floof feel very real, very physical, which I have not seen really in a ton of rigs. It makes it very, very, very satisfying. So starting with the face control, which is my personal favorite, let's start with the head. So we have the head, very nice fall off control onto the neck. We have our ear controls. And before I get in too much, I do want to just show off some of our pose library. So this will also come in the tools folder. You will be able to import this into wherever you have Studio Library. If you need more documentation, there's plenty of it online on how to use Studio Library. But to paste your poses, select a single control, right-click, select content. We'll select all the controls in this pose, and then you will be able to paste these poses onto your character. Another nice feature is if you select and middle mouse drag, you can blend onto the poses. So I can blend between puff and happy, or I can blend sad and smile, shocked and scared. Forgive the slight issue here. This will be fixed. It's just a minor posing issue on my part, but will be remedied very, very soon. So that is Pose Library. Very, very cool stuff. And again, reset character, back to normal, delete the key, boom. Might as well select all of the character, reset, and delete. There we go, okay. So moving back to the controls, we have the ears, we have the upper head squash, we have the lower head squash, we have the eye aim control, we have global, which will keep the eyes pinned in place. We also have the head up control and lower head control, great for rotating the entire lower half as a whole, especially for cartoony animation. We have eyebrows. So as a good rule of thumb, get your eyebrows into place with the main control because that has the blend shapes. Then I'm going to match the emotion, whether it be, you know, frown, surprise, sadness, with the inside control. Then you're going to be able to tweak the shape with this guy depending on what your what emotion you're wanting. And then finally you can tweak the outer one, rotate, etc. For the eyebrows. Outside eye, you can translate, get the entire brow and everything going along with it, which is great. Here should just be the eye, not the eyebrow. This also has your blink control. You can control the blend of whether it goes all the way down, all the way up, or somewhere in the middle. And then auto lids controls, I believe, if they're together, if you move one, they will follow automatically. And then here, I believe you can also scale, which is sometimes nice for getting squash and stretch in the face. Handy at times, but it does scale the iris and the pupil, so be careful about that. Here you have the eye crease control. Typically I will move the master to get the shape I want, and then I can move the tweakers to really hone in that shape. You have the same with the upper lid and the lower lid and the crease control. As a rule of thumb, if you're frowning, this crease needs to get closer to the lid. If you're smiling, it goes farther from the lid. Moving down, we have the snout. This is good for moving the entire upper half of the head, but my favorite little blend shape, angry snarl. This is useful for angry creases on the nose. We have our nose, very nice. You have a lot of nice little fine tweakers, lots of sneering, stretching, very good stuff. Out here we have our cheek controls, and we also have a puff blend shape, which is very nicely modeled, very fun. Here we have our mouth control, very clean shapes, very nice. Open mouth, happy boy. Also worth noting, you have zip lips. We have our sneer up, sneer down. Works nice when the mouth is closed. And then you have wrinkle, which just kind of increases this area, which is nice. And then you have depth. I use depth all the time, especially when you're working in like a 3/4 angle. Sometimes you don't want to have just a little bit of the corner showing like this, so you'll just shove it back there to hide it. Depth is useful in 99% of all shots. Select, reset. So here you have all of your fine tweaker controls for nice little detail animation. Here you're gonna have lip roll. Very nice for this bear character who has a lot of fine ooh shapes and whatever. You can't really do your normal humanoid ooh shape, so you kind of have to do it just with the tip of the lips because bears cannot, with the long snout, move the corners all the way in. So this is very, very, very nice and helpful. We have all these tweakers. Inside the mouth, you have your typical tongue controls, which is nice, and you should have your teeth controls to control the teeth. We also have I believe this little tweaker guy, which is great for puff in the upper lip. Rotate. Now moving on to props, we have this really cool bow and arrow. Something that's nice to know is you have the arm. With the new tool set, you can actually move the bow to the arm. Right click, add parent. I have not used this tool a ton, but I believe if I select the wrist, then the bow, add, I believe that now the bow should be constrained to the control. There we go, yeah. So very nice. All it does is add a constraint to the group above here, but it's very handy, time saver. Another thing that's cool is we have this IK string for pulling the bow back. When you pull it back, you want this nice sharp angle on the rope, but when you release, you might want rope tension to go out because you're going like boing. So you might want it to be more of a soft rounder, but then whenever it's getting pulled back, you'll want it to be more like this. So this is a very cool bow rig. You can also rotate. It's all very, very cool stuff. I love this little bow rig. Obviously we have clothing controls, pants controls. If I turn on the pin controls, the benders, and the tweakers, you should be able to see that we have all kinds of control for making sure no penetrations happen and every cartoony or not pose is possible. We also have these cool arrows. Cool thing about this is that you can bend the arrow pouch and the arrow will go in, and when it comes out, it will also straighten, which is very cool. And then you can also rotate from the tip. I believe you can also bend as well. So very cool, very cool. We have individual control over the fur around the neck, the mane, I guess you'd call it. And then you also have fine neck controls. So overall, very, very detailed rig. Lots of controls, should give you the ability to do anything you want with it. Obviously, if you have issues with it, you can contact me. And yeah, hopefully you enjoy the rig.